What you doing?
Just sitting here. Hello everyone, and welcome to Ann and Andy's Homestead. Today I'm going to be making a baby blanket. Tomorrow's my daughter's baby shower. She is due in about 3 weeks. I think it's actually a little less than 3 weeks now. So I put this off till the last minute, but I've got to get it done now. So I'm going to be making a rag quilt, and they are very simple. A few years ago, my daughters and I went to Hobby Lobby and did a little class on how to make these. And like I said, they're very, very simple. Anybody can do it, and there's a lot of different options in making rag quilts. And today, since it is July, I'm not wanting to make a real thick, warm quilt. I'm just going to make, I guess you could call it a summertime quilt. And I'm not going to use quilt batting in it. I'm just going to use another piece of material as the inside. And I probably wouldn't even have to do that, but the more material you have though, the more ragging it will do. So here's an example of one that I did a couple years ago. This is the front. It's just two colors or two different materials. And here's the back side. They're very simple, and I don't know if you can see well enough or not, but I had sewn X's on these. You do that when you use quilt batting in the middle, but I think since I'm not using the batting and I don't need that to hold it to keep it from shifting, I'm not going to do the X's this time. I'm just going to sew my pieces together. And this quilt, this was actually, I cut 6" by 7" pieces, and that's what that is. But this time I cut all of my pieces 8" by 8". So I'll just show you right quick here what I've got. See that these 4 pieces of material will make up the front of the quilt. This is going to be the back of the quilt. It's just going to be 2 different materials for the back, and I'm just using this right here for the middle that will go in between the front piece and the back piece. I'll start putting this together and show you as I go. Alright, I'm going to get a little assembly line going to get my pieces all put together. So this is the back of the first one, the middle piece. Also notice that I cut the piece that's going to be in between is the same size as all the other pieces. But like I said before, if you're using quilt batting, you'll cut it 1 inch smaller. For example, I cut these 8" by 8". If I had used quilt batting, my middle piece would have been 7" by 7". So, and that's just so that it doesn't poke through the part that will be the ragging part. And since this does have a top and a bottom, I want to make sure that it's facing the top. I don't guess it really matters if you don't care about that, but I kind of like for it to be facing the right direction. So there's my first piece to my quilt, my front and my back. And I will just continue on just like that on the row. This is my first row. Now I'm going to start on my second row, which will be these 2, for the top. I'm still using the same two for the back, but I want to make sure, since I used this material for the first, I want to use the opposite material for my first piece over here, so that when you turn the blanket over, the squares will alternate. Okay, so we're going to start with that. Still using, if I can get it, still using this as the center piece. Okay, and this will give you an idea of how the quilt is going to go. I'm going to go ahead and pin these pieces together. The backs and the middles all pinned together in the order that they need to go, and now I'm ready to sew it together, and it's so simple. Okay, I've got my first two pieces, the tops up. I'm going to put the back sides together, and I'm just going to sew this just like this. Okay, and I don't even bother with trying to do the back stitching, because this is going to be sewn over anyway, so I don't even bother with that. And most likely this little piece may get cut in the ragging process anyway, so there's just no need to try to back stitch that. And now we can open that piece up, and we are ready to sew on our next piece. Again, I put the back sides together. I've got my first row sewn together here, as you can see. That's what it should look like, and I'm going to do each row just like this, and then I'll show you how we put the rows together. I've got all of my rows sewed together now. So now I'm going to sew the rows together. And you just take your first row and your second row. You're going to again put the back sides together. You want all this on the front because that's going to be where you rag it at. I'll show you what the back looks like real quick. This is what the back side of the blanket's going to look like. And I think it looks really nice too. If you haven't figured out by now, she is having a boy. So that'll be 2 granddaughters and 2 grandsons that we'll have. Okay, so we're going to put these 2 rows together. Again, we're going to put the backs together like this, and we're going to sew right down through here. Oh, something else is at each one of these corners, I'm going to put a pin in there so it'll hold it all straight as I sew. Okay, I have the first 2 rows sewn together, and I'm just going to continue on until I have them all sewn together. I just noticed that I made a mistake and I've got these turned upside down. So I'm gonna use my seam ripper and take this row off, turn it over, and sew it back on. Now I'm going to flip it around and sew it on the right way this time. It's a good tool to have is a seam ripper. I don't hardly ever do any sewing project that I don't have to use this. Back on the right track. Okay, I have it completely sewn together. The last thing I need to do with the sewing machine is I need to completely go around the entire perimeter of the blanket, sewing about a ½ inch away from the edge because we're going to come in and cut this. That'll be the next step. So right now I'm just going to go around the entire perimeter and then I'll be done with the sewing machine. Now on this very last piece right here, I did backstitch. Alright, we are ready to start doing the ragging process. And You will want to invest in some ragging scissors. These are the ones that have the spring in them, because we're going to do a lot of cutting, and this is going to make it a lot easier, and your hands won't get as tired this way. Okay, it doesn't matter where you start at. You can start anywhere you want. You can start on the edge, you can start in the middle. You're just going to have to do the whole entire thing. And you are just simply going to start snipping, making sure that you don't cut any of your stitches. You want to stay just slightly above your stitching. And okay, there is that one section done. Let's see if you can, there we go. I made about, mine are about a quarter, close, some are about a quarter of an inch wide, my snips. I found that this is a pretty good width for them, and we're just going to do that over the entire blanket. And when we are done doing that, then you will put this in the washing machine, and you will wash it and then put it in the dryer, and you'll want to do that 2 or 3 times to make it really fray and to rag. So I'm going to get busy cutting this. I'll probably turn the camera off so that I can see it better. It's hard to make it face the camera and cut it at the same time, so I'll show you what it looks like when I get it all cut. Okay, now I've got the whole thing snipped. As you can see, I've done the entire blanket. Now all I have to do is run it through the washing machine and the dryer a couple of times, and I should be finished. I'll show you the back side. Okay, here is the blanket after I've ran it through the washer and dryer a couple of times, and it turned out very good. And here's the back side. It's ready to go.
You hear something?
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing dishes.
Are you drinking my coffee?
At this moment, no.
But all of the fronts and the backs. Talking to it.
Right.
And the middles pinned together.
Are you gonna do that or what?
Okay. Andy wants everybody to know that he's doing dishes.
Hey, sometimes you get to toot your own horn. Toot toot. What you doing?
Just sitting here.
What you need is little squares and things.
Yeah.